So we're going to talk about books. It's a little different, right? This is a technology conference, but we're going to talk about books. So I have a question. How many of you have an e-reader device or a tablet? Great, that's good news for me, because statistically, when you read books, you read 40% more of them than the people who still read in print. Now, how many of you would like to write a book or know someone who's written a book? Again, good for me. And the New York Times indicates that 85% of their readers they surveyed said the same thing. So 85% of those people wanted to write a book as well. Again, this is great for Book Trope. Should introduce myself, I suppose. I'm Catherine Sears, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder at Book Trope. So if you're one of those people who wants to write a book, how are you going to do that? How are you going to publish that book once you've written it? Well, today you have two primary options: traditional publishing, which has been around for a very long time, and self-publishing, which is gaining in popularity largely because of the Amazon Kindle platform. But there are challenges with both of these. So in traditional publishing, it's a very high overhead model. That means it's become very hit-driven and increasingly formulaic. Additionally, that means it's harder and harder for authors to access. Now, on the self-publishing side, this seems like a great deal. Self-publishing gives you more control, you get a higher royalty rate, but what a lot of people don't know is that means you're becoming a publisher. You have to run the publishing business. You have to pay the service providers, the editors, the copywriters, the cover designers, the marketing people, and on average, it costs a self-published author between $4,000 and $10,000. Now, that might seem great if you're the next 50 Shades of Grey, but unfortunately, 85% of self-published authors make less than $500 a year. It's going to take you a while to pay back that investment. This means there's a big gap in the market. And of course, Book Trope fills that gap. So what do? We've created a platform that leverages social media, collaboration, and our expertise to assist people in publishing their books. We're not self-publishing because we don't accept all manuscripts and we don't charge fees. What we've done is we've created a team-based process. Each team consists typically of author, editor, book designer, marketing manager, and everyone on the team works in our platform to collaborate on first the creation of the book and then ultimately on the marketing and the sale of the book. And the reason this works is nobody on the team is compensated using a salary. Everybody's compensated via a percentage of the profit, or a profit-sharing model. So how does it actually work? Once a manuscript is submitted, it goes through a pool of early readers. They help us make sure that only high-quality books get into the system. If I'm asking people to work ahead of getting paid, I need to assure them that I'm only presenting quality projects. Once it's in our system, a team is formed around the author typically, and then each book is a project. And then Book Trope publishes the book on all of the major platforms. We call ourselves format agnostic because we're on all of the ebook platforms, and we also do print books. So I'm going to give you a quick look at Team Trope, and of course you can come down to our table in the demo pit and we can give you a live demonstration. The Team Trope platform allows us to give everybody the expertise at the same time. Once a team member is in the system, they would go to the project grid. And the project grid can be sorted by role, by genre, by where the book is in the production process, and then they would ask to join the team. Once a team is formed, they're given a team room, and that's where all of the collaboration and the communication between that team is taking place. And then each book is an individual project. And you can see here, this is our forced workflow. So anything that's in white is available for them to complete. Things that are grayed out are not yet available, or they haven't yet done the preceding step, or they've completed them. So before we talk too much more about Book Trope, I want to tell you a little bit about the book industry. A lot of people see the demise of bookstores and assume that that means that the industry is declining. But as I said before, tablet and e-reader consumers actually read 40% more. Overall, the industry is actually a $28 billion industry. $16 billion is merely the market segment that Book Trope addresses, which are trade books or consumer sales. So this excludes textbooks, Bibles, things of that nature. But what's really allowing movement in this, what's really allowing us and the self-publishing industry to explode are ebooks. So this is a pretty startling chart. If you think that just 5 years ago, fewer than 5% of people were actually reading on a tablet or e-reader. And today, the industry reports that it's 30%. But I'll tell you what's interesting about this chart. This is only the big publishers reporting. It completely excludes most small press and all independent or self-published authors. So it's probably significantly higher than 30%. So how do we make money? It's actually very simple. We take a percentage of profit as well. So this means that everyone on the team for a given book, including Booktrope, makes no money unless the product is selling. That means that everybody is very motivated to first create the best book possible, do it in a timely fashion, and then assist in the marketing and sales of that. And these percentages, aside from Booktropes, are negotiable. The team decides who gets what percentage. These are just the standards. With the new technologies, ebooks and print on demand for print, 90% of our costs occur post-consumer sale. So after somebody has already given me their money, that's where the bulk of their costs occur. And what's especially interesting for those of us in the industry, considering that the traditional publishers routinely charge $9.99 for an ebook, you can see what my profit breaks down to on a print book versus an ebook. It's only their high overhead process that forces them to charge that much. This is the screen in TeamTrope where the teams decide on their percentages. Everything the teams have to do, they do in this one place. Now, all of this doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot if we haven't figured out how to sell books. If nobody's going to make any money if they don't sell, we better have a pretty good idea of how to market them. But what's interesting is in the traditional book business, they still market books as though they're a thing sitting on a shelf with a shelf life. But we know that Amazon, iTunes, all of the major ebook stores, they don't care about shelves, and they certainly don't care about timelines. So if you start looking at books as content and Amazon as a giant database with a search engine on top of it, what you realize is you have a unique opportunity. You have a built-in content provider in the author. So our marketing technique follows the author, not the books. The other factor here, of course, is that books don't talk. And it seems very strange when they start tweeting and sharing and speaking to you. On the other hand, your favorite author is someone you want to hear from. You want to hear what they have to say. We've also developed some pretty unique promotional strategies. In the book business, there are two camps: give away lots of free books, give away no free books. This is an example of how a free book promotion actually works. In this example, our book Jailbird was being downloaded at a rate of about 2 per day. We wanted to increase that. So we made it free for a week, in which case it was downloaded 85,000 times. Now, traditional publishing will tell you that I lost 85,000 sales. An internet marketing professional will tell you what I actually got was 85,000 free impressions on the world's largest e-commerce site. I lost 14 sales. For about 2 weeks following that promotion, the book was downloaded more than 800 times a day at its full price of $2.99. That gradually tailed off, but still 2.5 months later, sales were elevated by 500%. Now, this particular author has nearly a dozen books out. So this is a very repeatable process for this particular scenario. And of course, there are lots of ways to promote things in the industry. But if you're an independent author, if you're a self-published author, it's really hard to get those partnerships going because you have what, maybe one book every few months? We have 194 books, and I have 304 people working in TeamTrope. So that gives me a lot more leverage with the industry partners I need for marketing. Even these marketing attributes are managed in TeamTrope. So you can see here they upload a marketing plan, they add their request for price change. Everything is done in our platform. And we've recently added marketing analytics. One of the things that's frustrating to a lot of authors is that they traditionally find out what their sales were when they get their royalty statements, which are biannually 6 months in arrears. In our system, you find out daily, and oh, we also pay monthly. It wouldn't be launched if we didn't launch something, so this is a quick look at our iPhone app that's coming out. I hear a lot from authors, I don't have time to market. Well, now you're standing at a bus, you can tweet your new price change, you can share it on Twitter, and you can email it, all from our app. And I don't think I have to tell you that being a bestseller carries some weight in the book business. So here are just a few of ours from the last couple of years. At one point last year, we were on 75 top 100 lists on Amazon. So our books are doing quite well. We're closing in on 2 million books delivered. As I mentioned, we have 194 titles published. We have more than 300 people active in our platform. And this is pretty significant growth considering how long we've been around, and we have big plans. We are on target for doing another 400 books this year, and this is all because our platform allows us to scale at that level. And of course, from a business perspective, you always want to be making more money. So there's two ways that Booktrope can make more money and become more profitable, and that is a lot more books and increasing the revenue per book. And that's another thing that we've steadily been able to do. And we believe in transparency, so I'm going to go ahead and show you our revenue and our projected revenue for 2014. People are going to ask anyway, so there you go. And who are we? Well, I'm standing up here in front of you, and there's 3 people in the back that can wave to you. My co-founder, CEO, CTO, and we're all here to answer your questions, technology-wise or other. The only person not here is Heather Ludvigsen. She's out of Atlanta. We stole her away from corporate giant Kimberly-Clark, where she was in charge of a $355 million business unit. And we're currently raising our Series A. We just completed our seed round last year, but we want to scale bigger, better, and faster. So that's what we're going to do. So to sum up, we're disrupting publishing using technology. We are tapping the power of social collaboration and community to do that. We have great key partnerships and strong momentum. And we're a diverse team with a seriously strong background in building revenue-generating companies. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Who's got a question? Who's written a book here? How many have one in you? How many of you could live off of what you've written or what you're going to write compared to what you do in your day job as an entrepreneur, some other way? Yeah, so give us a better sense too of how big this ebook market has become, right? Because I think that there's still a stigma against ebooks in the context of unfettered self-publishing.
Right.
And part of what you guys are doing is creating this pipeline by which you're vetting your authors, you're creating a community too. How does the community work together to make the product better? And how big is this market next to traditional print books? Like how much money are people making as income, right? When you cut out that big overhead.
So the self-published space has a lot of huge success stories that you hear about, Amanda Hawking, Hugh Howey, and obviously they don't have to have a day job anymore. But the reality is any one book going stratospheric and making one author wildly successful, it's the equivalent of winning in the lottery. If you want to make a living at your writing as an author, you have to be a repeat offender. You have to publish several books. You have to take it seriously. So the authors in our system that are making a living are the ones that have done that. They've published 5 books or 10 books. And that gives us a lot of ability to play with their pricing, to bounce their fan bases off one another. The self-published space actually, like I said, that 85% of the Taylist is a site that self-publishing authors really love a lot. And they did a survey that showed 85% of self-published authors make less than $500 a year. But the publishing industry overall, that number that I showed you, that 16 billion, which actually is 28 billion if you factor in everybody, the stated market share of traditional publishers is about 90%. But keeping in mind that that industry research group doesn't survey self-published authors. So Hugh Howey recently commissioned another study, and he looked at all of the bestsellers on Amazon. And what he found was 90% of the best-selling titles on Amazon were bestsellers in ebook only. So if you believe what the traditional publishers are telling you, only 30% of the market is ebooks. If you believe what Hugh Howey's study showed, that's wildly inaccurate. And that also tells you that since those numbers are so far off, a lot of those people on the bestseller lists are coming in a different way. They're not coming in through that traditional publishing giant.
Is there another question? Yeah.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I'm assuming this is US only. Do you have plans to go international, or have you done?
Oh, we already have international representation, so as long as you have internet access, then you can work with us.
But this is language dependent, right? So you have different
Sure.
communities for different languages. Are you managing that? As
Right
different
now, we
projects?
publish in English only, but we have all of our books available on the various international iTunes and Amazon sites, and our print book provider is also international, so you can buy our print books from the various sites internationally, and bookstores can buy them as well. Bookstores are not our focus, but all of our books are available for bookstores to purchase for their inventory.
I don't know if you said this already, but are you based here in San Francisco?
No, so we are distributed. So Ken, our CEO and co-founder, we are in Seattle, and then our engineering folks are all in Los Angeles. So we really are about distributed collaboration.
Other questions?
If I found one of your books on Amazon, would it look like just like all the other ones? I mean, is it Amazon Prime available for print copies and all the rest?
Oh yeah, no, you can buy all of our books in both print and ebook. We call ourselves format agnostic because I believe it's not our job to tell you how to read a book. It's just to provide a great book. And with print on demand and digital short runs, I can create print books at a really affordable price point, and I still don't have to have a warehouse full of them sitting there. So there's really no reason not to create those print books, and they're very high quality. We have some at our table if you want to see them.
Other questions? And most of those folks come in through your community, is that right?
They do. Most of the people we find are via word of mouth and referrals. Right now, I get about one unsolicited job application per day on our website, and we're not advertising. So that word of mouth is really strong in the book and writer community. Yeah.
Do you see the traditional print book industry dying at some point? And what point would you peg that at?
Well, I think it'll probably go the same direction music has gone, where people still buy CDs, but in increasingly dwindling numbers. So you'll see the most popular things out in print book, or they'll all be available the way that ours are, which is through print on demand. So the bookstores will really carry, the top 1,000 books in the nation at any given time. And I think that is going to shrink. The business model for bookstores is not wildly profitable. They never figured out just-in-time inventory, and so it's very inefficient.
Other questions? Yeah.
Hi there. Let's say you have a reasonably successful self-publishing author. What's in it for them to join you guys? What's the value add for him or her?
So there's several value adds. Number one is support. If you're a self-published author, you are a publisher. You have to spend the time vetting the services and the providers, paying, keeping everybody on task. We've been doing this for a while now, so we have a pretty good idea of the project flow that goes into creating a great book. We also have a wonderful community. Book marketing has become competitive because the bookstore model dictated that it be so. But if you ask a reader, they're never going to say that's it. That's the last book I am ever going to read. And so our community is very interactive, and they do a lot to help promote one another. And then everybody on our teams has been trained by us, in particular the book manager. So a book manager is a job we created. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And it is a marketing manager, but the reason we called it a book manager is that they're much more like a product manager. They're looking at what the target market wants, and they're helping the author give that to them as far as not really the book itself, but the cover and the content that they're putting on their blog, et cetera. So we offer a lot of support that authors wouldn't be able to just get on their own.
Last question.
Two-part question. How much input does the writer have on like the cover and such things like that? And the second part would be, I noticed the iBooks logo is on the screen. Have you done things with interactive books yet?
Great questions. So the author is a huge part of the entire process. They don't dictate anything, it's collaborative, and especially with cover design, I find marketing managers are very, very helpful. Authors have a tendency, because they're so deeply close to their work, to get in their minds a pivotal scene or something that means something to them and forget about the fact that the cover is really the first invitation for the reader to take a closer look. But the author has to be involved in our process. They can't be absent. Secondarily, no, we haven't done interactive books. 2 reasons. One, you have to do them in iAuthor, and that means it can only be launched on iBooks. Secondarily, from a marketing perspective, I'm not really sure people want to interact with their books. People tend to read to escape and to relax, and if music started playing or games started popping up, it might ruin the reading experience a little bit. We won't rule it out, but that's where we are right now.
Thanks. Everybody give it up for Catherine and Book Trope.